Do you want to learn how to improvise contemporary piano just like that? Well, you might be thinking, yeah, I'd love to play that, but don't I need to learn tons of chords and scales? The answer is no. You can improvise the piano just like that by simply learning 2 chords in your left hand. I call this 2-chord shifting. And then in your right hand, all you have to learn are 2 grip positions. And with these techniques, you'll be able to improvise beautiful piano just like I did in the beginning of this video. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right, we're gonna start with the left hand, and the chords are so simple. Here's your first chord. We have G on the bottom, B, C, and E. Okay, by the way, this red dot here is middle C. Now you might be thinking, Johnny, what chord is that? That does not look like a traditional C major chord. Well, this is called a C major 7 chord. And the notes of this chord are C major, like that, but we're adding a B, which is the 7th of this chord. This comes from the C major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're adding the 7th to our C major chord, and then we're just changing the order of notes. So we take the C and the E off the bottom, and we put them on the top, and this is our gorgeous C major 7 chord. Okay, that's the first chord. The second chord you need to know is a gorgeous chord. This is called G9 sus4. Okay, the notes of this chord are G, A, C, and F. Okay, now if the theory is going over you, that's okay. You will understand the theory over time, but I just want to explain some of the names of these chords so you know exactly what they're called, okay? Now what I love about these 2 chords is that they're so close together. If you start on the C major 7 and you shift to the G9 sus4, you don't really have to move very many notes. All you do is move the B down to the A and the E up to the F. Okay, so these are very, very simple chords to play. All right, C major 7 and G9 sus4. Now, in case you were wondering how you create a G9 sus4, just a real quick explanation. A G9 is when you stack thirds all the way up to the 9th note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then you suspend the 3rd of the chord up a half step. Okay, so these are kind of the notes of a G9 sus4, but we're kind of reordering the notes. We're putting the A down there. Okay, so just kind of a quick explanation there. All right, let's move on to the next topic, but before we do that, if you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos just like this. All right, the next step after you've learned your chords is to apply a groove. And one of the best grooves to use if you want to improvise piano is called a 4 on the floor. See how my left hand is sort of sitting on each chord, really laying into the beat? This is called a 4 on the floor because I'm playing on every single beat, and there are 4 beats per measure. So it's very simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I change to the new chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I really encourage you when you start improvising with these 2 chords to start very simply with this 4 on the floor. Okay, let's go ahead and play this with the included backing track. This lesson comes with 3 different backing tracks at different tempos. So here's the middle tempo at 65 BPM. Here we go. Try to play with some dynamics. You can make certain chords a little louder than the other chords, and you're sounding great. By the way, these backing tracks are downloadable and printable over at pianowithjonny.com. You can also download and print the lesson sheet music on the top left of your screen, and you can change the key of this entire lesson with the click of 1 button with our smart sheet music. So I'll put a link to all of that below. Okay, you're doing a great job. You learned the 2 chords, you learned the 4 on the floor groove. Now let's talk about the right hand. How do you actually improvise over these chords? Well, you need to know which notes on the piano you can use And I like to think of this as a color palette, kind of like a painter has, different colors that they can pick from. When we're improvising at the piano, we want to know which notes we can pick from when we're creating our improvisation. So the best notes to use if you want to improvise over these chords are, drum roll, the C major scale. Okay, but that's not all. We're going to talk about which notes sound the best. But just as a quick review of the C major scale, if you started on middle C and you went up with all the white notes, you have the C major scale. Okay, so basically all of the white notes are going to sound good with these chords, but there are certain notes that sound better than others. So that's the next topic. Which notes on the C major scale sound the best over these two chords? Well, there are 4 notes from the C scale that sound amazing over these chords, and here they are. Okay, we're gonna start on C. We're gonna play the D. We're gonna skip the E and the F. We're gonna play the G. We'll skip the A, and we'll play the B. Okay, so this is the first note, second note, 5th note, and 7th note of the C major scale. And go ahead and play that chord, all the notes together. Isn't that gorgeous? Now, if you can't reach them all with one hand, that's okay. You can take your left hand and play the bottom notes. But I really want you to see these 4 notes. These are absolutely gorgeous, and they will sound so beautiful over each of these chords. Now, if you want to improvise using these 4 notes, you need to learn the next 2 grips. These grips will help you find these notes quickly. So here's grip number 1. Grip number 1 is right here. We're going to put that C on the top. We're going to put the B underneath it, G and D. Okay? I really want you to memorize this grip and kind of the shape of this chord. Notice we have these 2 notes clustered together. We've got this little 3rd interval, and then we have a 4th interval. Okay? So just really want you to make sure that you've memorized this. You can jump around on the piano and play it in different octaves. This will help you a lot with memorization. Okay. The second grip that you need to know uses all of the same notes, except the G is on the top. Okay, so here's the chord I want you to memorize. This is grip number 2. It's G, D, C, and B. And I really want you to think of the shape of this chord. Notice we have all of these 3 notes clustered together at the bottom, and then we've got that G at the top with a nice little 4th interval. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so these are your 2 grips, and I would practice shifting between these grips. Here's grip number 1. There's grip number 2. Let's go back to grip number 1. And let's go up to grip number 2. There it is. Okay. Now let's go up to grip number 1 and then grip number 2. Okay, so this is a great way to practice your grips, is you can practice all of these different positions up and down the piano. Okay, so I really wouldn't move on to the next step until you can play these grips up and down the piano. All right, congratulations, you learned your grips, and now you're ready for the next step, which is to start improvising with these grips. So the first technique that I recommend you use if you want to improvise with grips are the 16th note technique. Here's what it sounds like to improvise with 16th notes. Doesn't that sound absolutely gorgeous? And 16th notes are not very hard to play. So here's a quick 16th note exercise that will help you master this technique. We're gonna start with grip 1 in the right hand. So let's bring our hand up here. And here's how the exercise goes. We're gonna come down that right hand chord and then back up. And then we're gonna add a little B in the middle, and then we repeat the pattern, okay? So here it is again. And then again. Okay, that's the full pattern, okay? And before you add the left hand, I would just practice this pattern and speeding it up. Now, you do not have to go super fast, but you want to be pretty comfortable with this. An ideal tempo is about here. Okay, if you can play it that fast, you'll be able to start improvising lines over the left hand. Now, how do you play the right hand with the left hand chords? Well, you're going to play 4 notes in the right hand for every chord in your left hand. Okay, so here's how they come together. 1, there's 4 notes. Here's the next 4 notes. 2, and then the right hand pattern repeats. 3, and then 4. Okay, now we're going to change chords in our left hand to that G9 sus4. Okay, let's give it a try. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, does that make sense? Now you're going to want to gain some speed on this. I think an ideal tempo is about here. You're sounding fantastic. Okay, we're going to start improvising in just a moment, but before we do that, let's try the same exercise on grip number 2. Okay, if you recall, grip number 2 is down here, and now let's play the same pattern in this position. All right, so here it is slowly. There's that D in the middle, and then it repeats. And then we change chords in the left hand. Doesn't that sound gorgeous? Okay. And once again, you want to build a little bit of speed. I think a great goal tempo is here. Let's go ahead and improvise some lines using these techniques. And what we're going to do is we're going to practice combining grip number 1 with grip number 2 using 16th notes. Okay, so here's some ideas. I'll talk you through the improvisation as I'm playing lines. And we're going to go with the slower backing track for this improv. Here we go. All right, let's start on grip number 1. And let's just stay here for a minute. Okay. The key is to play lines. Okay. Every line has a little gap in between it. It's kind of like a musical sentence. Okay. Now let's go to grip number 2. Isn't that beautiful? Let's play some lines down here. You can start on any note you want. You can combine notes. Let's go back to grip number 1. Let's go to grip number 2. Back to 1. Let's go up to grip number 2. And grip number 1. And grip number 2. Okay, are you getting the idea here? So the key is to shift around to your grips and it will help you create beautiful lines. All right, before I teach you the next technique, if you're enjoying this lesson and you want to do a deep dive on improvisation, check out our Contemporary Progressions and Improv course over at pianowithjonny.com. You'll learn a lot more improvisation techniques just like this. So I'll put a link to that course below. All right, the next technique that I absolutely love is the turn technique. This is what this sounds like. Isn't that gorgeous? So what is a turn and how do you play it in this style? Well, you want to start with one of your grips. In this case, we'll start with grip number 1. And here's how the turn works. We're going to come down the first 2 notes of the chord. And then we're going to turn on the G. Okay? Basically, we're grabbing the G, coming up to B, G, and D. You see that? That's a turn. We're turning off that G note, and usually a turn goes up and then comes back down. Okay? So we've got C, B, the turn, and that's pretty much it. We're going to repeat this throughout the measure. Does that make sense? And you can do this over both of the chords. All right, so how do you play this over the chords? Well, basically, you're gonna play this whole passage over one chord. 1, and then it repeats. 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then you change chords to the G9 sus4. Does that make sense? Okay, and that's basically how we play this. Now, you're gonna wanna get this to tempo, so here's a really good tempo for this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, okay? If you can play it at that tempo, you can easily improvise with it. All right, before we improvise, I also wanna teach you how to do this on grip number 2, okay? So let's use the same technique. We're gonna come down, G, D, and we're gonna turn on the C, okay, and I'm just going C, D, C, B. That's it, okay? So G, D, turn. G, D, turn, okay? And you can build a little bit of speed in the right hand, just as we did earlier. Okay, how do you play this with the left hand chords? Okay, real simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we change chords. Okay, real simple. All right, you're gonna wanna get this to a good tempo. I think this is a good target tempo. Doesn't that sound gorgeous? Just as an exercise, you can have a lot of fun playing this. All right, once you can play both of your grips, let's go ahead and improvise with the backing track, and I'll walk you through my improvisation. Here it is at the same tempo, 55 BPM. Let's start up in grip number 1. Here it is. Let's go to grip number 2. Let's try combining them. Isn't that nice? You can kind of come down the piano. You can also mix it in with those 16th notes. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? So I encourage you to explore the full range of the keyboard. In fact, you can come way up high on the keyboard and play your turns down the piano. What I just did is I played a run down the piano using each of my turns. There's position 1 turn, and then position 2 turn, position 1 turn, 2, 1, 2, okay? So lots of fun ways to combine these. Hey, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this lesson, be sure to check out pianowithjonny.com. We have over 1,000 step-by-step lessons for all playing levels where you can learn your favorite songs, styles, and improv. So go check out Piano with Jonny, and I'll see you in the next one.